Fellow rebels, here in the dungeon with me today is another member of the OG Rebellion. She is a rebel with heart and full of caring for others. Escaping from adversity, she found herself a new hope and purpose in the Ice Fortress. A model mother and friend to all the people of the Grounded Dungeon, I give you Asha. So Asha, thank you for coming here and joining me in my cell. What?
I don't know why that struck me as so funny.
Well, that's okay. Funny's a good trait in a podcast, I think. But yes, I'm really glad I was able to get you here, because I procrastinated in getting other episodes up. And yes, this is the first time that you are here on the show, correct?
Yes.
Huzzah. So, I always like opening with this question, which is, how did all of this start for you? What's your BotGD discovery story?
I gotta rewind like 6 years in my brain, hang on.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's a little bit of a blast to the past.
Yeah. Well, when did How to Train Your Dragon 2 come out?
Oh gee, hold on. I have the Google right here. How to Train Your Dragon 2 release date. It was 2014, September 20, no, that was wrong. It has all the dates except the exact release. Written, produced, edited, release date, May 16th, 2014, and June 13th, 2014 in the United States.
Okay, so it was, I saw How to Train Your Dragon 2 after, I saw the first one and when it came out in theaters, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then the second one came out, and I saw the trailer before Frozen, and I lost my entire mind. So we had to go see the second one. And then I was like, I'm on the interwebs with Tumblr. There's got to be people posting How to Train Your Dragon stuff.
Boy,
so
were you not wrong.
I was not wrong, no. And I came into the Tumblr sphere right as the dead stoic jokes were happening. So, and then I was reblogging so much stuff on my main blog that someone messaged me and was like, so I see you suddenly like How to Train Your Dragon, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't put this so much on my main blog. So I made the second one, and I was like, well, I guess I'm in deep now.
No kidding.
And then,
oh boy, that was just the start.
That was just the start. And then there was like, you're in the dungeon, you're grounded in the dungeon. And it was like, and then the next thing I knew, it was like, so we're gonna make it roleplay. And I was like, what?
So wait, for clarification, you actually got a message that said you had been explicitly sent to the dungeon.
No, I got a message from someone anonymously that was like, so I see you really like How to Train Your Dragon. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm being annoying. So then I made a second blog, and I changed my, around like Halloween time, because I changed my blog to Stoic's Ghost. Like I changed the title. And then I think someone sent me to the dungeon.
Yeah.
Roundabout.
That would do it. That would do it.
So then I and I don't remember exactly how I got involved, but I sent a message to somebody. It was probably Haddock.
What a strange coincidence that someone would have sent something to Haddock only for them to end up in BotGD.
And then, because of all that, I dragged Greg into it because we went to high school together.
Aha! So now we've made a IRL Mun connection here. I have information now.
Yes, we went to high school together, and we would sit together in the mornings because we weren't allowed to go into the hallways before, like, 10 minutes before the day would start, so we would all sit in the cafeteria, and we were talking about stuff, and How to Train Your Dragon came up, and I was like, oh, there's this thing, and it's kind of embarrassing. And he was like, well, that's not embarrassing. And then I dragged him into it, and that's how we have Greg and Barry Manilow the dragon. It's all my fault.
That is very good backstory. And that's the beautiful thing, because it's like, so that I always start with this question, and I'm perpetually worried, oh, I'll probably just get the same answer every time. And though true, answers do have things in similar, like King,
Yeah.
there's also tidbits like that where I did not know that you and Greg went to high school together and that you were the one who dragged him into this. So now I have a question to ask him when I get him on this show. That is very cool.
We actually went to elementary, middle, and high school together.
Wow. Straight up the line.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
We've known each other for a long time, but he was a grade below me.
That's awesome. So, so what happened after that?
I was like, well, guess I'm here now. And then, I think Gray and Warren were like, oh, a friend for our characters. And this was in the days where it was only fan mail and ask boxes.
Oh, yeah.
There was no messaging. So I would stay up, really late when we first started role-playing together. I would stay up really late because we had to send each other, fan mail back and forth to say that we replied.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I would just be like, I was 16, 2 in the morning, and I'm like, I should really be asleep. They sucked me in. And it started, we met in the forest, and then Barry Manilow, the dragon, dropped Greg off, and it just kind of happened from there. And then, yeah, angst and fluff would ensue in the following years.
That is amazing. So everyone was up late, way past when they should have been.
Yes, especially for a 16-year-old that had an AP history test to prepare for.
Ooh. Well, hats off to you, 100%. Alright, we are off to a good start. And so this question normally comes in later, but I'm going to ask it now just because my muses never interacted with yours a whole lot. And so I never got a really good grasp on your characters as much as I've gotten exposure to characters like King or Aki. So give me the what's it called, the 101 on Asha. What inspired her? How did you create this character from your mind? And what are the elements that crafted both her backstory and the story that she had throughout the story? Wow, I said story a lot, but proceed.
It's okay. So, I guess kind of when this whole thing started, we were all kind of role-playing ourselves.
Yeah.
And nobody knew my name. So I was like, gonna pick a name. So I Googled, I don't know, I think I Googled, Scandinavian names.
No, okay.
And I was like, I like this one. So I was just like, okay. I stuck some characterization of me with this name and just chucked her into the woods with Gray and Warren.
Perfect. A classic Battle of the Grounded Dungeon start.
And then we started sort of developing backstory from there. Where did she come from? I was like, oh no, where did she come from? Why did she leave? Why are all these 16-year-old children by themselves?
I think I made a comic about why the rebellion garnered in so many teenagers. So don't worry. You're protected by a semi-in-written story reason for all that. But before you knew that information, what was the story?
So the story was that her dad died when she was little.
Mm-hmm.
And then after her dad died, her mom became not so great of a person and didn't like her, and eventually kicked her out.
Well, dang.
So, yeah. So she took her dragon, who her father helped her befriend when she was little, and they just flew away.
As you do.
So
And that's cool to see that there's a lot of characters who kind of ran into a hard spot in life, or realized that there was a better life out there, and then found it with the rebellion.
yeah,
And I think that's a nice reflection on how things went in real life, where a lot of people were going through hard times, and then they found a great group of peers with this RP that kind of helped them leave the hardships of life behind for a few hours after dealing with it all day. I think that's really cool.
yeah. It got. It was sadder than I anticipated it would be, but it kind of worked because she changed from being a characterization of me to like having her own personality.
Okay, I like that.
Like, she's much more cautious and timid than I am, which is saying a lot because I am very cautious and timid. Like, she's quiet, she doesn't like to talk to people.
And yet at the same time, she's so family oriented.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, moving down the line of the questions, there was also the element of, did you ever imagine that you'd end up where you did in the story within this group? And if not, what did you think would happen with you and your character?
I did not. Big part of Asha's story was I remember it very clearly. I was in my kitchen and I put in the tags. I was like, what if I do this? And Grey Warren and Greg were like, you better not. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And now there's Siri.
Oh, wait, and now there's who?
What?
Now there's who? Kiri?
Siri.
No. Siri.
Yeah.
Oh, right, Siri.
Yeah. Like, you better not do it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it.
You had one of the original things.
Yeah. It was, I didn't plan for it to go that way, but I'm like, I feel like Asha's having a much better time right now than she should be.
Oh, that's so mean. Oh.
Yeah.
But haven't we
Listen,
all... Go ahead.
I live for the angst.
Yeah.
For the angst.
There is so much of that in Battle of the Grounded Dungeon. Like, I was going through the original threads and everything, and the fanfiction. I'm sitting here like, alright. Is this too much? Did we do too much? And honestly, there's so much of it, but at the same time, the way it comes around in the story later really kind of makes it work. Like, the impact that the story has in its more finale-like settings wouldn't have nearly as much weight to it and garnered interest if it weren't for all the building angst that we could not help ourselves but put into the story.
Yeah.
Wait 1 second, I'm gonna take a sip of water. Alright, proceed.
I think, like, giving Asha Siri kind of, like, pushed her character a little bit, because she doesn't like to talk to people, and she doesn't like feeling like she's, like, a burden to people.
Right.
But suddenly she's, like, got a kid, and she's by herself, so she needs to learn how to talk to people, because she can't do it by herself, because she's not in the best spot to do it by herself.
Exactly. And everything was so community... that was a word. Everything was so community-oriented anyway at that rebellion. And it's also cool to think that... So you said that Asha was worried about being a burden to people, and now all of a sudden the script is completely flipped, and she is the sole provider for a child.
Yeah.
It's like you're like the opposite of a burden now. You're someone who's literally taking care of someone else 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
So, finding my place here. Well, what was your reaction as a Mun when Battle of the Grounded Dungeon became as big as it became? Whether that was in the early stages... Oh, I'm sorry. So what was your reaction as a Mun for when Battle of the Grounded Dungeon became as big as it did? Whether that's, wow, we have like 100 people suddenly in this RP, or later on down the road where it's like, we have how many media outlets and videos and pieces of art? What is going on? What was your reaction as a Mun in those situations?
I was really surprised. I was like, how did this goofy joke develop into like an entire storyline? Because that's what it was. It was a joke. We were in the grounded dungeon because we were making stoic jokes.
Yes, Miss
And then...
Stoic's ghost username. Mm-hmm. No wonder you got a lot of negative attention.
It wasn't that much. I think it was just like Peach and Haddock that noticed, and I was just like, ha, I got the URL before anybody else did. But,
that's so rude.
I knew someone was going to do it, but I had to be the one to do it, because I was a mischievous little 16-year-old.
Oh, beautiful.
But, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that big. Like, as soon as it started, like, leaving, like, the silly stuff, and we were like, all right, we're in the forest with our dragons, and as soon as we started getting, like, an actual storyline, I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, there's so many things happening all at once, what is this? This is crazy. And then people started making art, and we started giving, like, ship names, and I was like, this is, like, a fandom of itself.
Yeah, it literally
like
launched
fandom.
A micro-fandom.
Yeah.
I remember when
So it was just...
when Vox drew Lost Vox 2014 on his hand, and we all thought it was an actual tattoo. Or at least I did. I had to double check.
I remember as soon as it started getting, like, big, and, like, this probably sounds really lame, but, like, I was intimidated by, like, Haddock and Tree, and because I was like, oh, these are, like, important people in the
these are the head honchos, yeah.
Yeah, they're talking to me? Like, this is weird. This is weird, right? Like, I was, like, intimidated, so that's why there was a lot of sections, especially in, like, the OG stuff, where I just kind of, like Asha dipped, like, she was just gone, because I got nervous.
Aw. Well, I'm really glad that the nervousness didn't prevent you from being here on Greg's Discord chat and being part of Battle of the Grounded Dungeon 2 and everything, because it would have been something that was sorely missed. And because we feel that a lot, we lost a lot of OG Rebels over the years. We lost a lot of OG Rebels just between the first 1 and 2 seasons, and you know, because some of it was just happenstance of life, other things like we made mistakes as we were learning and trying to get things right. And it's always felt like, even with a group, I get on the Discord group and I'm like, oh yeah, how many people do we have here? And I count, and even though my mind's like, oh, it's a big long list, when I actually count it, I'm like, wow, this used to be significantly longer. And then I look at, like, the spreadsheet of character sketches that Tree made of, like, just a huge host of characters. I'm like, wow, I didn't interact with half these people, and I already missed them.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that didn't happen to you. I'm glad that you're here with the Rebellion even today.
Oh, thank you.
So we already covered what began to motivate Asha and what inspired her character. And so what are here's always a fun one, what are the relationship dynamics with other muses that your character has had, whether it's the good, the bad, or the really interesting or unexpected?
So, I guess the most important one for Asha is probably Gray, because she becomes, like, her big sister.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're always together. Like, actually, I guess it's the Boomerang Squad, so that's Asha, Gray, Warren, and Greg. They become, like, their own mini family unit within the entire community. So they're super close, the 4 of them. But, like, Gray is total big sister for all 3 of them. So it's like, yes. Attention. She, like, mothers them. And then in, like, when everyone goes into the bunker, like, Asha and Gray share a living space.
Oh, no,
with Siri.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that part of the story. Of course, that was when EU kicked up, and
Yeah, that
I was
was.
off taking a break during that time.
Yeah. So Gray basically, for like, how long are we in the bunker? Like 3 years?
It was about 3 years, cause
Yeah.
Ragnarok lasts 3 years, and the winter kicked off in season one. Actually, I think Jokul started a big blizzard, and then right around that time, Hell stole Vox's soul and wrongfully took him
Oh,
to
yeah.
Hell, and that
Yes.
pissed off every other god in the current planetary system, and they were like, "Hey, no!" And so the winter just kind of didn't leave after that. So
Right.
right around the time that it was like, "Oh, this winter, it's been here for a while," Hell pops up and goes, "Yeah, it's gonna be here for like another 2.5 years, fellas."
Yeah. But yeah, for the entire time they're in the bunker, Asha, Gray, and Syria all share the same living space. So Gray is like really there to like help her a lot
That's great.
because Gray's mother is like the what is the word healer midwife person on Halligan. So
I'd
she
say
knows
I'd
like
say
stuff.
both. Both is applicable.
Yeah. Yeah. So Gray knows a lot more about babies.
Yeah, that'd be a kind of
Just from
important element, especially during a 3 year long winter with giant gods fighting up above the surface and you guys being stuck essentially underground.
yeah. And that doesn't even go into Lila coming into existence.
What? Now I don't know too much about Lila.
I don't know how they pronounce it, but
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Were you talking about the mean god?
no, I'm talking about
That's Frigga, right? Sorry.
Warren and Greg's daughter,
Oh, yeah, I think it's Lila.
Lila. Okay.
I do know about Leela. I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about someone else for a second there.
Oh.
Well, that's
No.
embarrassing. Leela literally deep fried one of my other muses, so I should probably know who they are.
But yeah, so they all are together and they stay really close throughout the whole time, and then obviously, like, Greg dies.
Oof. Right in
Which-
the heart.
Yeah, it tears them up pretty bad.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I was floored when that happened. I was like, because again, the main battle wrapped up. They got in Hell's bunker, and then I retired, and
Yeah.
that's when the whole MIDI trial and the breaking of the central factions kicked into gear, and I did not keep up with that at all. I still
neither.
don't know what they're talking about when they bring it up, outside of just that it was when they fought the central factions and broke it up, and I guess the MIDI trial. I keep thinking of like a courtroom trial, but I'm guessing it was more like a fight, a battle, or a trying time.
I don't know.
I don't
wasn't
know.
around
I
either for
should.
that.
In one of my next interviews, in my next interview with Tree, I guess I should probably ask about that. Anyway, my jaw still hit the floor when I saw that Greg had been killed. Because we already lost Fiendel for the most part. He came back as a demon, but. And we lost Greg.
Yeah.
And we lost Greg right up until Dio showed back up for Battle the Ground to Dungeon 2, so that was a hard hit. It was right on the level, I think the hardest hitting deaths in
Yes.
Battle the Ground to Dungeon was definitely Greg and Kiri. And the only reason I'd put Kiri on a higher tier is because Greg does eventually come back as Dio, whereas Kiri is just gone.
Yeah.
But it was like those are the top two, with Fiendel running
Yeah.
up as a close second, but only because right from the get-go he was going to be a demon one day. Yeah, we lost good people in that fight.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Asha's most important relationships with other people's characters are definitely the Boomerang Squad. And then you get into like the ones I have, which is Ander, Siri, and Katrin. That's like a whole nother thing because that's her like family.
Right, that's the family unit. And, just before we get away from the subject, Boomerang Squad, outside of becoming its own little family member unit, also became kind of like, are you a fan of, Captain America at all, or Marvel?
I know enough of it to have people talk to me about it and it not go completely over my head.
That works. Boomerang Squad always gave me the impression of the Howling Commandos, which was that group that Captain America led that basically broke in, fought Nazis, liberated people who were prisoners, and all that stuff. And were just like, the go-to strike team, that no matter how high the risk was, they were the ones who could get the job done. That's what Boomerang Squad reminds me of. It's like if you wanted to send someone into a hellstorm and get a job done, you would send that squad.
Interesting.
So, just...
I feel like...
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like Asha wouldn't go, but the other three would.
Hey, you know what? Every team needs the support unit, and that's something that I've always seen with Asha. She is kind of someone, in the quietest and most subtle way, is truly holding things together. Because there's so many warriors in the rebellion, but usually those warriors are greatly lacking in being able to provide an element of emotional support or normalcy to life that they would desperately need to stay sane, whereas Asha provides that 100% of the time. So maybe Asha wouldn't go immediately into the fray of a big battle, but Greg and Warren
She'd be there
and
to pick up the pieces.
Greg, Warren, and Gray are gonna need someone to help them and keep them alive, either as they're going into it, as they need support in the middle, or as they're done with the task. So yeah, that squad kind of just became a symbol of a peace and heroism within the rebellion, at least to me.
Oh, cool. That's really cool.
Alright, so what else do we have here for questions? So, here's one. What is your biggest in real life learning experience that you got because of Battle of the Grounded Dungeon, if any? Like self-discovery kind of thing.
I guess it would... Actually, it kind of plays off what you just said. Like, I guess that I don't always need to be someone, like, super important that runs into things head first. Sometimes I can just exist and do what I do best, and it helps everyone in the long run. I can speak English.
Woo! And that's true. It's, especially with modern media and even with books and everything like that, the person who goes in and beats up all the bad guys is the one who, is the one that is the highest praised and everything like that. But I've met people in real life who are able to go headfirst into things all the time. I'm also the kind of person where I'm always trying to handle everything by myself, and it's not good. And it's not something that I've seen those people or myself be able to actually rectify the negative part of what they're doing all on their own, and that 9 times out of 10 they need someone else to help bring them down to earth, take care of something that they don't have to, and all in all help them just kind of recover from life kicking their butt. And it's a huge part, and very underappreciated. It's like people like Asha and you, they're kind of like the nurses of the world. They keep people alive after they did something stupid.
I mean, I am going into a caretaking profession, technically. I'm going to be a teacher, so...
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so you're running right in character. That's for sure. That is good stuff. Yeah, I know there was a lot of self-discovery in Battle of the Grounded Dungeon. Other times it was just a fun ride that people got to go on without anything other than, "Woo, that was fun," being the forward thought. And...
Yeah, I was, like, super awkward. Like, I am still fairly awkward, all things considered. But like in high school, when this first started, it was bad. You can ask Greg; he'll probably tell you. But
To be fair though, I don't think you're gonna stick out too much because everything down to the last post was awkward, especially in season 1.
yeah, no. But I'm like in real life, I was like a painfully awkward, very shy person who only really talked to my immediate friends and like answered all the questions in class. I was that kid.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but it was like, I don't know, I guess Asha gave me kind of like an outlet to like do that, but differently.
It would explain why her shyer attributes were more than your own.
Yeah.
In the form of channeling.
Yeah. It was like projecting. I was projecting.
Yes. And that's a great thing to do in a character, because, like, every single one of the people that I have made, with rare exception, have been some form of projection or another. All of them have attributes of myself that are grossly exaggerated, because it kind of helped me figure out what was going on in my own head by writing the characters the way that I wrote them.
Yeah.
And it helped give me a little bit more life balance just in, like, knowing myself. And, and it sounds like you did the same thing. By writing Asha, you were finding more about yourself by projecting the things that were going on in your mind in this character, where the consequences of whatever you did literally did not matter.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a writing nerd. I love that kind of stuff.
You're good. I took a creative writing class last semester. I get it.
Ah, must have been fun.
I still want to write children's books.
Ooh. It's like if you ever do, my sister does illustrations for children's books in particular. So if you ever get one off the ground, there's an artist. There's an artist available with good rates.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yes, and I hope you have good luck with that. Because it's like I know some people, like, they might look down on children's books, but I'm like, even though they're like short and small,
they're so important.
Right? They're important, and you also have to have your crap together when you write them.
Yes.
There's got to be something in there that even a kid is going to be like, hey, this is cool, and dare I say, something that an adult wouldn't mind reading to their kids over and over and over again at bedtime.
Yeah.
So,
like, I'm going into teaching. Quality children's literature is very important.
Yeah, it's like there's this attitude. Okay, maybe I'm getting off topic here, but so I got a little brother who really enjoys the cartoons that are more like, kind of like the direct to Netflix cartoons. And I can't get over how bad they are. They're just like, it looks like everything's pulled out of stock photos, and there's no dialogue. There's maybe like 4 or 5 verbal screeches or sounds that they use for literally everything that the characters utter. And
oh my.
It just about drives me mad. And it was at that time that I'm like, okay, you know what? People who make kids books, people who make kid movies, and actually do a good job, hats off to you, because this is frightening.
Yeah, some of them were bad.
Yeah. So, definitely hats off to you with that one.
Thank you.
Yes. Alright, so the last question I had was actually a question that was just for Aki. Which means it's not really applicable in this one. It was asking Aki about, the recovery of her family. And because I'm so super good at this podcast thing and had all the time in the world to set stuff up, I didn't. So, that's okay, because now we're rolling into BotGD 2. And so, what would you say is like how things have changed for Asha? How is life rolling for her by comparison of how she was and is in Battleground of Dungeon 1 and then moving on to the sequel?
Oh, well, she's doing pretty well now. She's happily married, and she has 2 kids, and she's, just content to be like a fussy mother. Like she's like, where are my daughters? I just want hugs. I want to give everybody hugs. I'm gonna take care of all my nieces and nephews. Like she's turning from like full on like I'm afraid that anyone would think I'm being annoying to I'm going to mother everyone. So she like completely flipped. She's like total caretaker. Like she just wants to make sure everyone's okay.
That is so good. And also like a common trait between talking with Gray and also observing what happened with my own muses Stone getting blunt. I see that there's and of course, how could I forget the Warden? There's most of the original rebellion really seems to be putting a lot of elbow grease into being caretakers to the second generation and the new people that have come in to pass the torch on to. And I think that's pretty neat, because there's a lot of communities where people grow up and then they just go, and then, there's no invested interest in what comes after. So it's really cool to see people like Asha going out there for not just her family, but everyone at large to be a form of a caretaker.
Yeah, and like it's never really come up, but like in anything specific. But I always thought that Asha and Ander would like take in kids that had nowhere else to go until they found them a permanent spot, kind of like a foster family.
Yeah.
Like I thought that would be something like that they would do, especially because Asha had nowhere to go when she was 16. She just took off on her dragon. I thought that would be something she'd want to do.
And that really makes sense for her character, because like you said, she took off, she found the rebellion, and out of the blue there were people that were willing to take her in and help her. And to want to give back to those around her after something like that really makes sense. And actually opens up a lot of opportunity for future threading ideas of Asha potentially setting something up like that. Because, like, Gray, she's the chief, she's like the mama bear of the whole place. Warden always has the pains out, making sure that everyone is safe and taking particular care of Tree's family. Stone and Blunt are off in their bar, and like they'll take anyone who's wayward into their loft for a while until they get something to eat and get turned around and help them get back to where they need to be. But I don't really think there's a place that would be able to permanently or semi-permanently take people in. And so, thinking of how Asha would structure a system or I guess the home availability for something like that is really an interesting thought.
Yeah. 'Cause I just feel like she'd be like, all right, well, this kid needs a home, so she's mine now until we figure out where she can go.
So I saw that, now that's a character I also don't know a whole lot about, is Ander. And so since we have a good handful of minutes left on the standard length of this podcast, how about we get into Ander's background, who he is, kind of give me the 101 about him as well, because it's another character that I'm not as familiar with.
Okay, well, to be completely honest with you, the very first time I dipped, because I have school and stuff, I was like, I put Asha back in to the thing, and I was like, do I need to have because I think we had already gone, we were season 2 or something already, and I was like, and Asha missed a whole bunch of stuff, so I needed a reason for her to be gone. So that's where the joke of Moonbeam being horrible with directions, Asha's dragon is Moonbeam, came into play.
Oh, wait, pause. You might be able to help me with something. What kind of dragon is Moonbeam?
She is a pale yellow not cloud jumper. Same kind of dragon as cloud jumper. I can't remember the actual name.
That's Valka's dragon, right?
Yeah, Stormcutter.
Oh, heck yeah. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm getting into my art files, because I have a lot of unnamed Battle of the Grounded dungeon art that I'm not exactly sure who everyone in the picture is. And even if I have a high suspicion, I don't want to mislabel something. So, and I have a picture here of a cloud jumper that is mainly blue, but has like pale brown highlights and yellow eyes. Is that a familiar sounding?
Nope.
That's not it. Okay.
No.
Well,
Moonbeam is like pale yellow with white.
pale yellow with white. Okay. Had to real quick check my art archive. No, it's a mess right now. I'm probably gonna have to screen share with Tree and Gray at some point, just so that I can name all this stuff. But anyway, proceed about Ander and Moonbeam being terrible with directions.
Yeah, so Moonbeam's terrible with directions. So the reason I gave in the story for Asha just vanishing was she was supposed to go somewhere, but Moonbeam, not being the greatest with directions, got her lost. And they ended up on this island, and Asha met the first boy in her life that was ever nice to her.
Ooh.
And that was Ander. And it was just, Ander lived with his mom, because his dad wasn't around. I don't think I ever gave a reason for that.
No, sometimes there is no reason.
Yeah. But, like, it was, so she met them, and she basically was like, oh no, I've got feelings. But then she was like, all right, well, I guess I gotta go back and find the rebellion, because my friends are probably like, where the heck am I? Because cell phones don't exist.
Right.
To just tell him, hey, landed on this island, met a cute boy. See you in a couple years. But,
you know how it goes.
yeah. So, like, she basically leaves him there, and before, in my head, I had it written once, but I think I lost the file, that, like, before she leaves to come back, like, he kisses her for the first time.
Aw.
And then, yeah. So, like, the rest of the time, like, she has no contact with him. But then, you know, there's the bunker, and then after they come out of the bunker, Asha's like, somebody get me in contact with this boy.
Oh.
Because he probably thinks I hate him because I never came back.
That,
and, like,
I
all
was
this
gonna
stuff.
say, that must have been rough, because the moment she got back to the rebellion, all hell broke... Oh, well, who am I kidding? All hell broke loose so many times in that rebellion.
Yeah. But she had no way to contact him. So she was like, oh my god, someone put me in contact with this boy. So then Ander comes to visit, and he shows up, and there's Asha with an entire 3-year-old child.
Oh, no! Oh, his poor little mind must have blown.
Yeah, Siri is not Ander's kid.
Oh, yes, I remember that. You just reminded me of that element of the story as well. Oh, that's right. His mind still was probably blown.
Yeah, he was like, what, who is this? I kissed you once, kid. But, yeah, and then he ends up, you know, just staying on Halligan with her, and then they get married when Siri is 5, I think. But he's just like, I made him like, I kind of made him into like the kind of person I'd like to marry someday. So
okay.
He's like very sweet, and I don't know if it comes across very well, but I try to, like, his speech patterns, like when I thread as Ander, he's a little bit more formal in his speech patterns.
Okay.
I guess I thought it was like his mother's very like, she's very loving, but she's very like, yes, this is my son. He is a good boy, and he
must speak properly. Yes.
Yeah.
I know how that goes. My mom was a speech therapist. So I got free lessons all my life.
Yeah, his speech patterns are a little bit more formal. He doesn't use contractions very much.
Oh,
I've tried to limit how many contractions I use for him because, I don't know, it's just
that's
slightly more formal.
Yeah, that's a neat little character quirk as well. Because it could easily be passed off as, that's a funny way to write it, until you notice, you know, by comparison of how the other characters are writing, that there might be something to it. Just like cool little background tidbits. And it's nice to know that you have the high standard and that you can literally write in the kind of person you would want to be with, and that Ander is right up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very, like, soft-spoken sort of person. Like, I made him kind of, obviously, I made both of them, so they're kind of perfect for each other, Asha and Ander, but,
Right.
yeah, they're both, like, soft-spoken and very, like, family-oriented people. And Ander is just like, oh yes, this 3-year-old child that I came back to, she's mine now. I take her.
She's definitely mine. I take.
She's mine. She belongs to me now. She's my kid. I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't care that I'm wrong. She's my daughter now. Back when we first started doing EU stuff, actually, I had Siri calling him Ander instead of Dad. And then, like, when I came back for BotG 2, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. He's literally raised her since she was, like, a toddler.
Right, it's been a while. 25 years.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So she calls him Dad, but...
Aw.
Because she doesn't know any different.
Right. It was like, it was that part of the past that didn't have to weigh over Siri's head, at least. She could just have her mom and dad.
Yeah, so she's like, oh yeah, these are my parents, and I have a baby sister, and everything is fine.
And that really...
Siri's a whole...
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Siri's a whole nother can of worms. That girl is something else.
Oh, man, it seems like so many Rebellion kids are just an absolute handful.
They really, really are.
We got Siri, we got Edgel, we got Edis. It's like... Holy moly.
That doesn't even put Gray's kids, who are just, like, mildly chaotic enough that they'd give me a heart attack if they were...
Oh my god. Yes. Yes, all the... Like, you would think that there'd be no way to match the original, or that anything that came after the original would just be, like, not as vibrant, but the second generation is mad as hell. Like, they're wild.
They're wild. Like, Siri just, like, she turns like 18, and she's like, well, I'm gonna go travel now. Peace. Bye. I'll come back and visit, like, once a year, which is what she did until this actual stuff started happening, and now she's got a boyfriend, so...
Yeah. And it's not like that particular continent isn't one of the most dangerous places in the world, with an entire demon land that stretches for miles up north. A faction broken area to the west that's all central, and then just general madness in the rest of the area. It's
Yeah, you know, Asha didn't like that she was going, but she's like, well, I can't keep her here.
Right. It's like, well, please have a good time traveling, and try not to die or suffer some of the hardships that we did, and we mainly stayed in one spot.
Yeah, it's just like, come back here, your little sister barely remembers what you look like, and she's 4.
Yeah.
But now Katrin is like 9, and Siri's back on Halligan. We'll see how long she sticks around. Well, actually, that already came up in plot, didn't it? That Will and Siri are gonna have a baby?
Yes, I remember hearing that.
Yeah. Well, they're at least gonna be on Halligan for a good little while, I think.
Right, kinda settle down long enough to have the kid.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Asha and Clover are gonna be, like, very doting grandmothers.
Aww. So, yeah, and I guess that goes into the character dynamic question between Asha and Clover. Because I think...
Yeah.
Because, let's see, so Will and Siri would be having a kid. And I forget, is Malira having a kid?
I don't know. I think technically in the storyline she already has one, but she doesn't... Will doesn't know where she is. Will and Clover don't really know where she is.
Okay.
Yeah, Asha and Clover didn't really interact at all in the first Battle of the Grounded Dungeon.
Yeah.
But we talked, and we kind of came to the conclusion that, well, Will and Siri are the same age, so there would just be, like, two essential teenagers with babies in the bunker at the same time. So it's like, you know, like there's some kind of, they were friendly at the very least.
Right.
And then, yeah, because like we have this whole thing that like Siri and Will used to play together when they were like babies, and Siri would just pull his tail all the time.
Oh no.
And they don't remember that because they were so little, but Asha and Clover are definitely going to bring that up. But yeah, now that they're going to, you know, both be very doting grandmothers.
And it really...
would...
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm...
Oh, and I was going to say, it really brings a nice cycle back around in Asha's story, where her family life fell apart, and her starting out family life just was rocky, being a nice term of how to put it. And yet, despite all that, the cycle unexpectedly breaks with her and Ander setting up a stable relationship. And even though Siri is having a child at a young age, she's also in a place and in a rebellion where that's probably, for as dangerous as the continent is as a whole, that rebellion is a very safe place for a young parent to start their family as well. And so even in the face of the adversity, like mentioned before, what has ultimately happened is that Asha has a happy family that's no more or less stable than anyone else's, but like leaps and bounds ahead of what she had to escape from and deal with back in her younger years as a teenager. And that's very meaningful, I think. That's how her story cycles around, where she loses family and then gains it.
Yeah. And like, you know, her husband doesn't die dramatically or anything.
Big
she's
plus.
Not going to kick her daughters out.
And I think that's a really cool display, where it's like an extreme situation happens, and her reaction is to just hold those close to her closer, rather than push them away.
Yeah, like she's not upset when Siri's like, well, she's like, that's kind of funny, actually. I should have seen that one coming. Like, you're 25, what can I tell you?
Right. Yeah, that's really, you know, that's kind of like the long and short of it right there.
Yeah.
Well, so I think, based on our timer marker and the list of questions that we have gone through, we have concluded this podcast episode. We did it!
Yay!
Woo! So, thank you again, Asha, for joining me here in the dungeon.
Yeah, this was fun.
It was good to have you. We are going to be around for second episodes as soon as I get some more first episodes out of the way. And true to form, I have no idea how to end one of these things or give any kind of sign-off, so we're just done. Yay!
All right. Yay, sounds good.
All right, so long, Asha.
See ya.